Today we're talking about weaponized incompetence and the selfish men who use it against women.
So I just saw a video of a man and he was walking through his kitchen. He was showing that I guess the wife had gone out of town and he was left in charge of the kids. And so it was like a little plate on the table and there's like a little index card where it was like, so and so gets 3 pancakes and some juice. Next to that was another plate. There was another index card. This person gets 2 pancakes and milk. And then there was like a table that was set up that had like all their little clothes. I mean, all the way down to the socks, like packed up and ready to go to somebody's house to spend some time. And he was like, this is for this child, and this is for this child, this is for this child. He's like, my wife really takes care of these things. My thing is, I am so annoyed with the weaponized incompetence that always is like, it's so funny. He can't do anything without me. You think it's cute in the beginning, but it gets old. This is why sometimes you'll see a marriage where the man seems to be getting younger looking, but the wife seems to be getting older looking. And it's no shade, but that woman is exhausted. She is tired. He comes home, he puts up his feet, drinks the beer or whatever he's drinking and watches the game, and she's doing laundry and cooking and doing all these things on her own. Not just the physical load of it, but the mental load, the emotional load of having to feel responsible for anything and everybody in that house, the dogs, all of it. And the thing about it is, some of these same women will jump on the internet and bash women who are excited about being child free. Y'all don't make it look appealing. Y'all don't make it look exciting. Y'all don't make it look fair or equitable or in any way. Don't get me wrong. I'm a mom myself. I have 3 daughters. Hubby is a princess maker because we have 3 daughters. Okay. But the thing about it is, I don't feel like I don't get any help. I wouldn't brag about all that I do when I get no help doing it and then be like, get like me. Do you really want these women to have children because it's a beautiful job or because you want them to be miserable like you? Do not push this lifestyle on women because you are the best advertisement to not have children when you jump online and show that he seems like another child you have to raise. He can't do anything without you. He doesn't know where his socks are. He doesn't know where you keep the extra plates. He doesn't know how to wash clothes. He doesn't know how to make himself anything to eat. He doesn't even know what your kids eat, what their teachers' names are, what their favorite colors are, where the kids' medicine is, what one's allergic to what. Like, some of you make having children look so miserable, but then you'll jump on the internet and bash women who enjoy the life of being child free. It's not for everybody. It is a thankless job, and it's made even harder when you have a man who doesn't help you with any of it, who acts like another child you have to raise. Stop bashing these women because they don't want to have kids. Y'all look like y'all want to have them either, but that's another story for another day.
I don't think it's cute when women say that men, their husbands or their boyfriends can't do anything without them. And oh, I do everything for him. I take care of him so much. He doesn't know how to do the dishes. He doesn't know how to do the laundry, or he did the laundry and all of my clothes shrunk, or all of my clothes changed color because he mixed everything together. It's not cute. I really don't think it's cute. And the statistics of men who leave women when they are ill is way higher than the statistic for women who leave men when they're ill. There are a lot of women right now, especially women with cancer. This was something I was reading. Women with cancer, their husbands leave at such a high rate versus men with cancer. Their women typically stay with them throughout that process. Why? Because that man does not have a bone in his body to care and empathize and love that woman. He is thinking about, oh, if she's sick, who is going to take care of me? If she is sick, who's going to take care of these kids? Because it's not going to be me. It's not cute when a man will look at you doing everything and never thinks that he can raise a hand. He does not care about you. There's no empathy there. There's no love there. There's no tenderness, no kindness. If a man is willing to give you multiple children and you're in that house and you have to pick out the socks, the shoes, you have to specify who eats what, how much food they should eat, that means he's not an active father. He is not an actual father. He is not a father. And so, yes, I agree. Coming online and living that life and shaming women for wanting to be child free, it just really goes to show that there are some people who they want other people to be miserable with them. Having a child can be beautiful, but it's not for everybody. And women need to stop being shamed for choosing to be single and choosing to be child free, because so many of these relationships are really not it.
You are not his job seeker. You're not supposed to write his resume for him. You're not supposed to make a to do.
I think people think that I'm like joking when I say don't do shit for a man. I'm being serious. Don't do anything. Don't get on your Googs. If he said he wanted to go to funeral school, I don't want you to look up the next best cemetery that's about to open a course in session. That's not your role. They don't need your help. And if they do, they shouldn't be with you. And I mean that not to be vindictive or mean or rude, but men that want to be in relationship and want to like love up on their woman, they are self-sufficient. There's really not much more to say.
Men are not dumb. Men are not stupid. You're being manipulated.
They're 100% correct. One time I became what you could call accidentally a trad girlfriend of sorts, and it was a slippery slope, but men are not stupid. I would say about 90% of the time they are fully aware of what they're doing, and 100% of the time they are way more competent than they lead you to believe. Because be honest, anytime you finally let a man know how truly deeply he messed up and that you're really upset, or maybe even finally try cutting him off or leaving him on red for a while, then suddenly out of the blue he'll come back and start acting like a knight in shining armor, right? Doing all the things you've always begged him to start doing, but just for long enough that gets you like manipulated and hooked back on the line. Because men are more aware than we give them credit for. Which leads back to that if he wanted to, he would. He literally just isn't. And one time when I was about 19, I got into what you could call like a trad girlfriend situation before that was even a popular term. And you might ask me like, well, how did I get out? How did I finally see the light? And it was like the moment a switch flipped, like suddenly the floodgates opened and I saw everything clear as day and I kind of had a breakdown. But it didn't happen all at once. It was like a very slippery slope. I think I was about 19, 20 and he was 21, 22-ish. And funny enough, contrary to what you would expect if you watch my content, some of my favorite things are deep cleaning stuff. I love baking, a little bit of cooking. At the time, I was a nanny, and I love working with children. So kind of like a trad husband's wet dream, which got me obviously into a lot of situations when I was younger. But for starters, this man had really bad ADHD, so he kind of needed a lot of help doing a lot of things, which I can relate to because same. And two, he was essentially an only child, so his mother, like overly mother, like he couldn't do anything. You can see where this is going immediately. He also had this persona of like golden retriever boyfriend, you know, kind of airheaded, but super fun and lovable. And on the forefront, always treated me really well and was very sweet. So the first time I went over to his house, I was meeting his parents, right, where he was living for the summer. I was very nervous. I was like, let's cook them dinner. Like, I want to be helpful. You know, so he grilled the chicken. I made all the side dishes, like the veggies and the salad, the bread, other things like that. It was a pretty strong start and we made a good team. Again, even at that point, I had to mother him through how to do like the steak or chicken or whatever it was that night. But anyway,
I want to interject. I partially blame mothers for how some of these men turn out. And I say partially because once you become an adult, you need to just get yourself together. But I partially blame mothers because there are a lot of mothers who coddle their sons and they don't coddle their daughters. Growing up in a Caribbean home, you would find that many parents, I can speak for what I've seen, many moms, they will wake that daughter up at the crack of dawn to clean the house, to ensure that dinner is on the way, to make breakfast, to do all the chores. But her baby boy gets to sleep. Her baby boy gets to do nothing because they're training their daughters to be wives, but they're not training the sons to be husbands. A lot of these moms are pick me's. A lot of these moms are pick me's that teach their sons that they don't have to do anything and they need to be treated like princes. And if a woman is going to come in your life, she needs to cook and she needs to clean and she needs to do all of these things. And one of the things that just came to mind, if you go to a man's house and the house is not clean, do not lay a finger in that man's house. Just don't do it. I had a brother, whenever a girl was coming over, I would see him cleaning and I would just know that a girl is coming over because he wouldn't do it otherwise. If a man is going to test you by having a dirty place and he wants to see how well you're going to be a girlfriend based on how willing you are to do labor for him, get rid of him ASAP.
Anyways, it was fine. And the second time I went over to his house, his parents were out of town for 2 weeks, so he was just chilling at home. I show up and the place was a mess. And I was like, dude, you cannot, like, your parents come home in a few days. You have to clean this. Like, you can't let them come home to this. That's just disrespectful. But now there was this unfortunate precedent set that, like, anytime he needed chores or anything done, I had to help him do it. Which again slowly became me just doing the chores for him. But his mother loved me because I always came over and yelled at him until he did stuff, which again, at this point, I just felt like I had taken the place of his mother for her, which I'm sure she was very happy about. And one of the nails in the coffin that really did it was that he always showed up late to everything, which again, ADHD, time management, I totally understand. So then I started slowly telling him that events started earlier than they do, just so that he would show up on time. But then he started showing up later and later. And it was never that big of an issue until one time I had a family reunion, and I wanted us to obviously make the family reunion. So when I really need him to be at my house at 9:30, I actually tell him to be there at 9 o'clock sharp. He lives about a 27-minute drive away from me, right? And I'm on the way to the event. 9 o'clock rolls around, he's not here yet. 9:30 rolls around, and now I'm repeatedly calling him because he needs to be there at latest by 9:30, which would have been on time. 10 a.m. rolls around, an hour past the time I told him to be there, and I'm starting to get ready to just go to the event alone. And he calls me panicked. He's freaking out. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My alarm went off an hour ago, but I put it to snooze, and I accidentally slept through the other ones. And at 10 a.m., I'm sitting here thinking, you had your alarm set to go off an hour ago, which would have been at 9 o'clock, the time I told you to be here to pick me up. Even then, sir, you still would have been at least a half hour late because you have to get out of bed and shower and get over here. I'm livid, but he's like, it's fine. Like, I'm rushing. I'm in the car already. Like, I'll be there soon, whatever. I get in the car. I'm obviously fuming. Like, I know at this point we've pretty much missed the entire event anyways, and probably no one's going to be left by the time we show up. And I'm trying to gentle parent to him why I'm upset with him and explain that, like, the time you set your alarm for would have still made you, like, a half hour late to my home anyways. And he turns to me and he goes, well, you always tell me to show up early anyways, so I thought it would just be fine either way. And that's when it hits me. I go, what? He goes, well, you intentionally tell me to always show up early, so it's fine that I'm always late. And that's when the floodgates start to open. I go, you knew this whole time that I've been bending over backwards to try and accommodate. And not only that, it shows that you actually can show up at whatever time you decide to show up at. You just don't respect my time enough, and you make me try and work overtime to make sure you're there on time when you could be there on time anyways. And he was like, well, yeah, I guess, but like you always just do it for me anyways. And that's when I start bawling. I am crying at this point in the car, losing it. Because in that moment, I realized this whole relationship, all I've been doing is trying to make your life easier and work with you as a partner to accommodate you and your needs. And the whole time, you, sir, have been literally doing the exact opposite and making my life more difficult knowingly. And so at this point in the car, I'm crying profusely. And so I was like, just drop me off at the event. Like, don't come in, go home. I will get, like, we're done. This is it. And he's crying, freaking out. Like, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. Like, I had no idea. And I was like, yeah, that's the issue. You didn't even stop to think about how this affects me in my life at all. And two, no, you don't have no idea. You've known the whole time, clearly. You've been doing this all intentionally. And at this point, he is crying, bawling his eyes out. I'm crying, bawling my eyes out. He's like, I'm so sorry. Don't do this. I'm like, no, I can't. No. You know what? And we're both too young. Maybe you're just too young to be dating anyways. You'll grow up out of this. But like, let's just hope that we both take something from this. And I need to not be here anymore or ever see your face again. Because this was just straight up downright disrespectful of me and my time and just so many things. And I was willing to dismiss it the whole time when I thought you were just like an airhead golden retriever boy because you were always so nice and friendly. But to hear that like you knew, it's just another level of no.
One of the things that we need to consider with men like this also is that they do not do this at work. They know that if they do this kind of thing at work, they will lose respect of their peers and they'll lose their job. Imagine your boss tells you that you have a meeting at 9 o'clock and you show up to that meeting at 10 because, oh, it's not a big deal, I didn't think it was really that important. You wouldn't do that. Obviously, you know that you should take this job seriously because this job means something to you. It helps you to afford taking care of yourself and your family. They don't do it at work because they understand how serious it is and because they respect the company and their manager, and they know that there are consequences for breaking these rules. But when it comes to women, when it comes to taking care of their children, when it comes to the home, they don't think like that because they literally don't care.
So how do you vet for weaponized incompetence? I got this question on the video I made about weaponized incompetence from Am I the Asshole, where we discussed a post where basically a husband was really unwilling to do the bare minimum to help his wife and his children. And I think this is a great question, and it did actually get me thinking about it. So the first thing I wanted to say is if you're a woman who desires a relationship with a man, I think it's really important not to go into dating with a low opinion of men. So going about it thinking, oh, that all men are somehow stupid or immature or incapable of doing anything on their own is probably not a great approach, and it's likely just going to attract exactly that. Instead, I think it's really important to have the view that men in general are very capable, and if they really want to do something and they really want to learn or whatever it is, if it's important to them, they will figure it out. They will find a way to do it. And that's just how they are. Which means that if they're not doing something, it's because they don't want to do it and it's not very important to them. And the second thing is really understanding, therefore, why. Why is it that they wouldn't want to do something, they wouldn't want to help out, even for their own wife and their own children? And in my opinion, the reason is because they are selfish and immature. And basically, they are stuck in adolescence. Because think about it. Who among us as teenagers didn't roll their eyes and kind of grumble when our parents asked us to do something? It's that kind of mentality that those men still have, that they're somehow stuck in an overgrown, extended adolescence. And their thinking is really that they resent being asked to do anything that inconveniences them in any way. So this is really what you need to be vetting for. And here's my suggestion for having. When you're dating a man, ask him to do things for you. They can be really small things, really small favors, and see how he reacts. For example, if he's coming over to your house to pick you up, or because he'll be staying at your place, ask him to pick up some milk or some sugar or a lemon, anything. Just ask him to pick something up for you on the way because you've run out or you need it. A good man who's mature and who really likes you and wants to impress you will be more than happy to do this thing. And he will make sure that he does it well because in his mind, this is his opportunity to show you what a great partner he would be. So if it's milk, he'll definitely make sure that he's getting you the right type of milk. And if he's not sure, he'll ask. And bonus points if he picks up something extra, like he sees something else that he thinks you would like and he picks it up for you. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't even matter if you like it. But like if man does that, green flag, that one's a keeper. On the other hand, if he complains and says things to the effect that you should have been able to do it yourself, or like, why are you asking him to do this, or how inconvenient this thing that you're asking him to do is, and how silly you are for running out of this thing and not being on top of it, or whatever, red flag. That is not a man who is mature and also not a man who is in the right frame of mind to be a good husband and father. And it could simply be because he doesn't like you that much. But either way, it's not a good thing. So red flag, that would not be a man that I would suggest getting serious. And of course, if he already starts to demonstrate weaponized incompetence, where you ask him to get regular cow's milk and he brings oat milk, well, he's not dumb. Okay, because like I said at the beginning, men are very smart and very capable. And if they want to do something, they will make sure that they figure out how to do it. I mean, if they could figure out how to get themselves to the moon and back just because they wanted to see what was up there, I'm sure they can figure out the difference between cow's milk and oat milk. So I would not assume that a man who does that, it's just because, oh, poor stupid men. He did it on purpose, okay? It's because he didn't care. Now, that's just my opinion, but I don't know. I hope that helps.
I also have a very high opinion of men when I say that men are not stupid. I do not believe that men are dumb, they are unintelligent. I actually believe the opposite. And that is why when we talk about weaponizing confidence, when we talk about the emotional labor in the house that men are completely ignoring, it's because I know that they are capable of, but they choose not to. And that is why it is such a problem. It's not because they are incapable, it's because they do not want to do it. So the caption says, when you tell your husband you need help cleaning before guests come over, and he finds the most unhelpful task to do.
Whenever I see videos like this, I always think the reactions of other people in the comment section are really interesting. So you'll have married women. I see a lot of them talking about, why are they like this? All these laughing emojis. They're sharing stories about different things their men did before company was coming over. Mine was blowing leaves. Mine was redecorating the bathroom. Mine was mowing the lawn. And then you'll have like single women saying, it couldn't be me. Like, is this what marriage is all about? Like, I would leave him. I would divorce him. And then the married women are like, shut up. You don't know what marriage is about. This is what marriage is about. Single men and other married men. You single women, you're going to stay single. You're going to stay single if you don't understand this is how marriage is. And they wonder why single women are opting out. You make it look miserable. What is sexy? What is cute? What is alluring about the idea of feeling like you have to raise a grown man child? And I'm not saying this like leave your husband if they're doing this. This is always a cautionary tale to single women. If you notice these kind of tendencies while you're just dating a man, realize that it's not going to get better. Whatever he's like when you're dating him, he'll be like that when you're married, and maybe even worse. It's okay if you see this and you don't think that it's funny. It's okay if you see this and you don't see like, I don't want this for myself. Like, this isn't what all marriages look like. There are marriages where you have a man who is fully capable, not only capable, but realizes that you guys are a partnership. And if you have company coming over, we have company coming over. So we should get the house ready.
If it's not your husband's goal to make your life easier, it is his goal to make your life harder. It's to make it harder for you. Because the best thing that you can have in a relationship is not only two people that love each other and value each other and respect each other, but also they just genuinely want to make your life easier. They do not want to add any hardship to your life because they know that if you are uncomfortable or inconvenienced, in turn, they will be uncomfortable and inconvenienced. And they don't want that for themselves, so they don't want that for you. A person that is willing to inconvenience themselves to make sure that you don't benefit is a huge red flag, especially in a marriage. This woman said that her and her husband were on the way to pick up their daughter from the airport and they're driving her car. And he realizes that she needs gas, but they drive right past the gas station. So she figures, okay, there's plenty of gas stations on the way. We'll get gas at another time. So she soon realizes that they never stop for gas. So she says, well, how much gas is left? And he's like, this is not my car. I'm not paying attention to that. Red flag number one. Anyway, I'm not paying attention to that. This is your car. And she's like, okay, well, how much gas is left? Like, are we going to make it? And she notices that they have less than 50 miles of gas left and they have more than 50 miles to get home. So then she's like, well, what were you going to do? Like, we just never stopped. What were you going to do? He's like, I was going to just let you run out of gas and you would have to call AAA. So he would rather everybody be stranded on the side of the road of a potentially dangerous highway because I don't know what area they live in, but for me, a drive to the airport is all highway. Potentially dangerous situation that you're putting your wife in and your daughter in because you did not want to stop to put gas in her car because you felt it was her responsibility. The situation was not about gas. You have a spiteful partner. And I've heard women tell stories like this before. Men that forget to, fill up their stocking for Christmas or forget to let them know that the kids have to be picked up early or just little things that they can do to inconvenience you. A problem for me is a problem for my husband. A problem for my husband becomes a problem for me. So it is in our best interest to make sure that everything runs seamlessly. And if your partner does not view things that way, you have a bigger problem.
That man does not like her. You can't convince me otherwise. He does not like her. If you are willing to run out of gas and you have to call AAA to bail you out, and you knew it, you saw it, and you drove past gas station both ways, but you were willing to let her run out of gas so that everybody is stranded on the road, you don't like her. You don't like her.
Anybody have any guesses why he would be doing this amount of domestic labor prior to golfing? If I had to guess, I would guess that it's because he doesn't normally participate to this level in doing the domestic labor. So he's treating it as a transaction. See, I did all of these things, so I can go golf now. See how I did you a favor? See how I did you a favor by doing all of these chores? It's seen as help to their wives. And it's seen as help because they're not doing it regularly. It's interesting. They're in fact withholding their support. They're withholding support from their wives, from their families. They're weaponizing it. They're weaponizing their support by saying, I will only do these things if I get this in return. If I can go spend 6, 8, 9, 10 hours out golfing with my buddies, but you will only get my support if I get to go and do that. And as women, we're just so happy that they're actually doing something, that they're actually doing the work that we typically take on ourselves, that we're like, yeah, okay. It's a breadcrumb. And then as soon as they've completed that activity, they're going to pull back and weaponize that support again until they have something else that they want to do, to which they'll bring it to you. And again, say, you can have my support if I can do this. Men often tell me it's women that make domestic labor transactional by typically doing sexual favors in return for those domestic labor. But isn't it interesting that we paint it that way instead of men refuse to actively participate in their home and caring for their children unless they are provided sexual favors in return. Men are weaponizing the support of their own spouse and families by withholding it unless they get sexual favors in return, unless they're getting something in return. And in this instance, he's wanting to go golfing without his wife nagging and complaining about how he doesn't ever help her. And now he's going to be gone for 8 or 9 hours, furthering the amount of time he won't be helping her.
Here's the problem with the term help. Just ask me for help. He's great at helping at home, but I feel overwhelmed anyway. I just want you to help around the house. Having to ask for help means it was your responsibility. Telling somebody that they just need to ask for help is assuming that it's their responsibility. Women who are asking for equitable division of labor at home are not asking for help. They are asking for active partnership. It may come out like, I need you to help out more around the house, but that's because most people don't have the language for it. I don't want my husband to help me with the kids, because that's assuming that the kids are my sole responsibility. That sounds a lot like, my husband is babysitting for me. I don't do the dishes for my husband. Our dynamic is not that I wait around for his guidance on how to help him around the house. We solve this default responsibility dynamic by explicitly defining our roles. I don't have to carry the mental load of managing contact with my kids' teachers because my husband has that handled. I don't have to worry about having clean underwear or not because that's his job. We've had an explicit conversation about how often laundry needs to be done, if it needs to be folded, put away, or just in a bedroom. He doesn't have to worry if we're going to have food or not. I'll always make sure that there's enough food to eat in the house, and if we run out of something, he can just tell me and I'll make it happen. Having explicit conversations about who carries what task and what the task actually entails. Setting a minimum standard of care and the expectations around that task. It empowers both of you to take partnership, to have ownership over the life you live. When you say that women are just asking for help around the house, you're minimizing the labor that goes into managing a house. Just going out and getting the groceries for someone, literally shopping, that's a disregard for paying attention to food allergies, preferences, knowing how many meals are going to be had at home during the week. You have to know what items you can pick up at what stores, how frequently that needs to happen, what brand to get. All of that is mental labor. 2/3 of a task is the conception and the planning of the task. The execution is the easy part. And those daily grind tasks, things that need to be done at a certain time, repetitively, that burns people out. No one wants to be the one to constantly be doing those tasks that are repeated over and over, so annoying until we die. And when one person is doing most of those things, or even just directing the rest of the household and making sure it's done, having a partner, an adult partner who's not participating in that, that partner is just adding to the load. So yeah, a lot of women ask for active partnership, and when they don't get it, when their partner says that their time is not valuable enough for them to participate in that, they leave, and their load is lighter. You ask for me to make it make sense, there you go.
Hun, can you drop off the rent check today? Yeah, okay. Oh, wait, sorry. I meant, can you get up from the chair and put shoes on and pick up the check from the table and put it in an envelope and walk to the door and open the door and go into the hallway and close the door and then walk down to the elevator and push the elevator button? Whoa, what are you doing? Well, last week when I asked you to get the ice cream cake for the party, you got it from the store and brought it home and left it on the counter. And you said that that was my fault because I didn't communicate well enough. So I'm really trying to communicate. You don't have to be such a nag. I'm not a little kid. Well, you said that it was my fault that the cake melted because I only told you to pick it up from the store. And I didn't tell you to put it away in the freezer. I'm just trying to help you be aware of what needs to be done. Don't worry about it. Some men just need a strong leader.
By now, we've all seen several examples of what weaponized incompetence looks like, but it also looks like this. The man that asks if there's any way that he could help you. The man that asks you if you could write him a list. That is still weaponized incompetence, because most of the time, the items that he needs help with are things that he already knows how to do or has seen you do a million times. One of the top comments was a woman that asked her husband to pack the baby's bottles because they were getting ready to go somewhere. And he came to her and said the bottles were all wet. And she said, so dry them. They want to be told step by step. But as soon as you do that, it's like, why are you talking to me like I'm a child? I'm a grown man. Well, then use your grown man common sense. Instead of taking something off of her plate like you're claiming that you want to do, you're still requiring her mental labor. It's like the man that went viral for crying online, asking his woman to teach him how to be the man she wants him to be. Well, that still requires her labor. Mental and emotional labor is still labor. You don't need a step-by-step tutorial on how to be a helper if you genuinely want to help.
We're going to continue talking about weaponized incompetence until women understand what to look for and start leaving these men, and until men start to realize that this behavior is unacceptable and women are not going for it anymore. Pretending like you don't know how to do something so that I have to do it all the time is pathetic behavior. Asking me step by step how to do something that's always been done in the house, that you've seen me done over and over again, is pathetic behavior. We have to start holding men accountable for the things that they do, and we have to demand better for ourselves and demand better of the partners that we ultimately choose. If you are with a man and he displays these tendencies as a boyfriend, when you get married, he's going to be the same or worse because he knows that you accepted that and you were willing to marry him just the way that he is. When you get married, nothing changes. He's going to be the same person that he was, and even worse, because now he's going to get even more comfortable with you and he's going to do whatever he wants to do, additional to who he showed you that he was before you got married. Let's demand more of ourselves and let's demand more of our partners. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I love you all and I will see you in my next video.